In the deep mountains, a group still thrives. Here, they cling to ancient hunting methods to battle nature. Survival demands constant struggle-hungry wolves stalk, while they forge tools, hunt, set traps, and attempt crops for self-sufficiency. This harsh life defines their identity. Among them are lion hunters, trappers, struggling farmers, and seasoned elders, the mountain people of these ranges. In Montana's Yak Valley, our protagonist Tom lives with wife Nancy, sustaining themselves through hunting for 35 years. This season brought grim news. Wildfire, nature's fiercest weapon, approaches. Dry autumn fuels uncontrollable flames. Montana's worst fire season in a century, with over 2,000 wildfires ravaging the state. For Tom's family, the inferno spells doom. Timber-rich surroundings offer no refuge. Fire spares nothing. If flames reach them, survival is unlikely. Action is urgent. Tom plans to reinforce fire breaks. Existing barriers risk failure. Idle trees could topple onto their cabin if winds shift. He must fell hazardous trees first, delaying winter food preparations. Survival now hinges on containing this threat. The intense heat from wildfires made fire breaks crucial. Forest fires burned at extreme temperatures. With wind, flames could spread like flamethrowers. Tom had no choice but to act immediately. Clearing fire breaks to protect his hand-built cabin, nestled in pine tree trees once used for traditional homes, now threatened by encroaching flames. As Tom began felling trees, Nancy worried about falling trunks or chainsaw jams. The old saw worked if sharp, but disaster struck. The blade jammed mid-cut. The half-felled tree trapped the saw. Tom resorted to an axe, finally toppling the pine, only to watch the freed chainsaw tumble downhill. One tree down, positioned as planned. Yak Valley, vast and resource-rich, housed barely 100 residents. Tim, Tom's neighbor and a clothing designer, rushed to help their bond forged by wilderness hardships. Here, neighbors were lifelines. One last tree remained. Both men focused on urgent tasks, knowing fire moved swiftly. Helicopters battled the blaze, one of Montana's most destructive. Worse news came. A new fire ignited south. Flames loomed miles away. Tom and Tim widened old fire breaks, felling hazardous trees. Exhausting labor strained Tom's aging body, yet camaraderie brought warmth. By dusk, they finished. But Yak Valley faced a sleepless night. Forecasts warned of dry southwest winds at 15 miles per hour. Perfect fire fuel. Over 1,000 structures had already burned statewide. Finally, firefighters contained the blaze. Relief washed over Tom and Nancy as they sipped tea, their salvaged timber, now winter fuel. With 9 days left in deer season, they turned to hunting meat for survival, pelts for income. Peace returned, but the mountains never promised safety, only resilience. Tom's family endured wildfire threats until local firefighters extinguished the blaze, averting crisis. Now they raced against time. Montana's Yak Valley still awaited its first snow, and winter's approach felt swifter each year for aging Tom. Autumn's urgency gripped them, stockpiling food for cold months ahead. Nancy's backyard garden, their vital food source, lay in ruins when Tom inspected it. Uprooted crops and claw marks pointed to a bear raid devastating during critical harvest time. Over half of Montana's grizzly bears roamed western regions, often invading human territories for pre-hibernation feasts. Worse, a successful raid meant recurring visits. Summoning neighbor Tim, they tracked bear signs. Paw prints led to flattened grass beds, mere meters from their cabin, evidence of a large grizzly residing nearby for weeks. With bears possessing 2,000 times sharper smell than humans, Tim proposed installing trail cameras to monitor movements, noting solitary males turn aggressive when hungry. Following Tim's instructions, Tom mounted cameras along bear paths. Footage would determine if this was last year's repeat offender, while aiding safety preparations. As mother bears attacked to protect cubs, lone males posed equal danger during food scarcity. Surviving Montana's wilderness demanded constant vigilance. Even after fires faded, new battles emerged. Yak Valley's winters spanned 7 months, with Arctic cold trapped until June. Bears here stockpile calories for hibernation. After 3 days of recording, Tom and Tim retrieved trail cameras monitoring the bear invading Tom's property. Footage revealed a massive grizzly ravaging crops, then returning to target pigeon coops. This adult male, weighing up to 300 kilograms and standing over 2 meters tall, matched Nancy's identification. Last year's repeat offender. The evidence confirmed their worst fears. This bear now claimed Tom's homestead as its pantry. In these mountains, wildlife reigns supreme. Humans merely coexist on borrowed land. Though tempted to shoot it, Tom couldn't. Grizzlies are protected here. Their only options: deterrence or avoidance. With winter looming, food shortages compounded by grizzly threats forced vigilance. Every outing required carrying firearms. Trail cameras offered limited solace tracking. Its patterns might prevent attacks. Survival here meant constant adaptation, where even home remained contested territory. As winter approached Montana, wildfires subsided only for bears to plague Tom's homestead, ravaging crops and claiming his land. With deer season ending, Tom braved grizzly threats for final hunts. Yak Valley's low elevation delayed snow, but winter loomed a week away. At dawn, Tom and Tim pursued a buck legally huntable and meat-rich compared to protected does. They found bear fur on trees, signaling grizzlies descending to gorge before hibernation. Risking encounters, the duo mimicked antler clashes to lure curious bucks. Montana's unseasonal rain masked scents, aiding stealth. Moving downwind, they spotted 5 deer 100 meters out, including a sentinel doe. Bucks lingered nearby, but thick brush blocked clean shots. When a doe detected them, the herd vanished. Nightfall and impending snow forced retreat. Tom faced winter with empty freezer shunting's harsh reality, where prey often escapes unscathed. Survival in Yak Valley demanded relentless effort, where nature dictated terms and humans merely adapted. Blizzard arrived as forecasted, leaving 7-in-thick snow overnight. Today, Tom embarked solo to hunt a buck. 100 pounds of venison could sustain him and Nancy through winter. Frigid temperatures and deep snow hampered movement, but provided tracking advantages. Fresh trails revealed deer paths and fighting signs, indicating bucks battling for breeding rights during peak mating season. After hours tracking, Tom spotted a 150-pound buck. Constant movement foiled aim. If does fled, the buck would follow. At 40 yards, within rifle range, Tom fired. The deer bounded away unscathed, forcing a blood trail pursuit. Tom finally bagged a buck, temporarily securing winter provisions. As he planned financial strategies, old friend Charlie arrived at Yak Valley, now fully winterized. The valley's name originated from indigenous roots, yak meaning arrow in local tribal language. Having lived here 35 years, Tom survived by crafting traditional tools and clothing using ancestral mountain skills. Charlie urgently requested a handcrafted bow for his son, within 2-day shaft the normal 5-day crafting period. Though unreasonable, Tom accepted the rushed commission, knowing his livelihood depended on such trades. Nightfall found him laboring non-stop, chiseling wood by firelight, this first time undertaking such time-pressed craftsmanship. Yak Valley, nestled in Montana's remote northwestern corner, hosts more deer, antelope, and elk than humans. Those braving this wilderness forge tight-knit bonds, like Tom fulfilling old friend Charlie's urgent request, crafting a custom bow within 48 hours. Quality wood forms the bow's foundation. Tom hand-carved the stave without power tools. 10 hours later, its rough shape emerged. Midnight found him still laboring as Nancy checked progress, torn between admiration for his grit and concern for his aging body. Promises bind mountain men. Tom skipped meals and sleep, shaving wood through dawn. By morning, fatigue etched his sawdust-covered face. Nancy returned to assist as he reinforced the bow with deer sinew, then wrapped it in eastern diamondback rattlesnake skin for durability. Hours before deadline, Charlie arrived. Tom demonstrated the bow's drawn arrow veered off target, but craftsmanship shone through. Charlie departed satisfied, upholding Tom's creed. A promise made must be honored. Here, integrity outshines archery precision, binding communities through unspoken codes. Montana was once America's last frontier until mountain men dominated the region in the early 19th century, forging survivalist lifestyles. Tom upheld this legacy, thriving for 35 winters in Yak Valley through primal self-sufficiency. Time marched unrelentingly. His children urged retirement in Florida, but Tom refused. This week brought Tanner, his Florida-raised grandson, unseen for 3 years. Montana's winter wilderness overwhelmed the city boy. Determined to impart ancestral wisdom, Tom assigned tasks. Roof snow, clearing first. Tanner grudgingly complied, unaware of greater trials ahead. Tom integrated Tanner into his trapping routine daily checks, mandated by local law. Ice-coated rivers veined with hidden cracks posed lethal risks, yet Tanner initially found thrill in the novelty. Complacency soon backfired. Reckless steps triggered nature's harsh lesson. Yak Valley's 7-month-long winter raged on as Tom sustained his family through trapping pelts, his primary income. Typically solitary, this week brought grandson Tanner as an eager apprentice. Initial reluctance faded during their first trap check. Replacing stale bait ignited Tanner's curiosity. Remote northern winters spared no one. Yet Tom's tireless routine now had company. Riding snowmobiles to beaver traps, they found a 30-pound catch. Beaver meat served as bait, pelts sold as rugs for hundreds valuable revenue. Tanner's growing enthusiasm mirrored Tom's own journey decades prior. Though initially clumsy, the city boy now studied each skill, understanding why his grandfather thrived here. Love for the land forged unyielding resilience. Tom's grandson Tanner came to Montana for a vacation. When Tanner first arrived, he looked down on this lifestyle. But after hunting and living with his grandfather, Tanner gradually understood why his grandfather insisted on staying here. Many people yearn for such a life, but very few actually pursue it. When Tanner's vacation ended, he left Montana and returned to Florida. Life went on. Tom still ventured into the forest daily to hunt, as the Yak River Valley descended into the depths of winter. This place marks the end of civilization's roads and the beginning of endless wilderness. When early pioneers came to Montana, the extreme weather forced many to painfully eat their own horses to survive. 35 years ago, Tom and his wife Nancy reached the end of this road and never left. Winters here are harsh, everything is difficult. This environment forged Tom's iron will. Now nearly 70 years old, with muscles stiffening with age, Tom remains optimistic. As long as he can handle the work here, he refuses to leave. Though his family urges him to retire, Tom says being a mountain man isn't a job but a way of life. After over 30 years in these mountains, Tom has mastered hide tanning to perfection. There's no pelt in these woods he can't process, earning him high respect among neighbors. Many seek his help with pelts, allowing Tom to earn income or barter for supplies. The ancient practice of trade through exchange still thrives here, embraced by all. Today, Tom's neighbor Will went fishing and offered to catch muskrats for Tom in the river. Will often received Tom's help, and this was his chance to repay the favor. The two became close friends after meeting at a horse riding competition years ago, now regularly assisting each other in hunting and facing dangers. Today's muskrat hunt aimed to gather enough pelts for a traditional muskrat hat. As Tom and Will loaded their boat onto the truck, heavy snow began following a storm forecast to dump 10 inches of snow with a 15-degree temperature drop. The sudden freeze would ice over Tom's river traps, rendering them useless. They needed to urgently check and collect all traps. Fishing plans were abandoned. Battling weather is routine for Tom, but with the blizzard starting, every second counted. Will's assistance today would make the task easier. Tom prayed for luck to catch numerous muskrats, known as muskrats or water rats. Due to their aquatic habits and musk-producing glands, these creatures became crucial targets. The cold front brought not only snow but plunging temperatures, forcing them to retrieve all traps despite the freezing river. Working downstream along the rushing snow-swollen river, they found their first trap containing a lifeless muskrat floating on the surface. Tom couldn't suppress his grin, hoping the next trap would bring similar fortune. Fate complied. The second and third traps each held a muskrat. The unprecedented triple catch had Tom beaming. At the fourth trap, in a tricky spot, Will waded into the river and retrieved another muskrat, a historic quadruple success, with no empty traps. But their triumph shattered when Will, struggling with the high boat edge and his own weight, accidentally fell into the river. In Montana's worsening weather where temperatures could plunge below -50°F, making this the coldest day on record, the icy water instantly soaked Will. Their productive day turned dangerous. Will needed dry clothes and warmth immediately to prevent life-threatening hypothermia. The frantic race to get Will home proved harrowing but successful. After a long night, Will recovered. By morning, they drank tea while casually discussing yesterday's peril, such dangers being routine for mountain hunters. Life here flows with tranquil quietness, devoid of urban bustle or workplace intrigues. Though seemingly peaceful, constant dangers lurk. Only these fearless mountain dwellers persist, living enviable yet formidable lives rooted in this wild land. Tom and his wife Nancy live in the wilderness of Montana's Yak River Valley, where abundant wildlife thrives. The couple sustains themselves through hunting. One day, while driving with their doga, de boer named Allie Nancy noticed the dog suddenly stopped, seemingly terrified by something. Allie leaped into the vehicle and trembled uncontrollably, even after getting inside. Puzzled by the dog's fear, Nancy stepped out to investigate and quickly realized why. Wolf tracks surrounded the area. Knowing it was unsafe to stay, she hurried back to the car and left, determined to inform Tom and urge him to drive the wolves away. Upon returning home, Nancy told Tom about the incident. Tom frowned, his anxiety rising. He first explained Ollie's fear. As a fellow canid, wolves viewed Ollie as a competitor, especially in winter when food was scarce, making them prone to attack rivals. Worse, wolves were known to hunt humans as prey. Old tales warned of their tactics. A lone wolf might ambush from behind. If a wolf taps your shoulder, never turn around. While packs attacked head, on far deadlier. Tom understood the danger, but had to act. Wolves, once extinct in Montana by the 20th century, had been reintroduced decades ago. Their numbers now surged, frequently killing livestock and pets, becoming a major threat to locals. Once rare near inhabited areas, wolves now appeared more frequently due to environmental changes. Protected by law and rarely hunted, they'd lost their fear of humans. Though Montana had a regulated wolf hunting season to control populations, it wasn't active now. Tom drove to the location Nancy described. The rows of wolf tracks were alarming. Fear gnawed at him. Wolves preying on humans was no joke, but he pressed on for his family's safety. Following the tracks into the woods, rifle at the ready, Tom encountered the pack. He fired a warning shot skyward, scattering the wolves. He chased them another half-mile, until his old knee injury flared up, forcing him to stop. Using a makeshift crutch carved from deadwood, he painstakingly began the return journey. The deep snow and crippling pain turned the 800-meter trek into a 30-minute ordeal. Finally reaching his snowmobile, Tom sighed in relief and rode home. This setback would likely require days of rest before he could resume hunting. In Montana's Yak River Valley, the wolf population is surging. Over the past decade, their numbers have increased 20-fold. Tom, who lives here, knows better than to underestimate the threat of these large predators. Recently, a pack of wolves has moved into the area, showing particular interest in Tom's cabin. After previously driving the wolves away, Tom's old knee injury flared up. He struggled home and bandaged his knee, but the pain still made him grimace. According to Nancy, the wolves haven't left instead. They've become more active nearby, returning to the road near Tom's house. The tracks suggest these wolves are larger and venturing closer to the cabin. Tom knows he can't rest yet. Even with his injury, he must act quickly. He's the only one in the family who can drive the wolves away. Limping outside, he mounted his snowmobile to challenge the wolves again. Tom would prefer peace with the wolves, but the balance between humans and wolves is fragile. Their numbers must stay within safe limits. Otherwise, they'll deplete wildlife, then attack livestock and humans. After consulting authorities, Tom learned Montana recently allowed wolf hunting due to overpopulation. A human-wolf conflict looms, restrictions lifted. A lethal confrontation is inevitable. Tom aims to seize this chance to teach the wolves fear. The stark wolf tracks on the snow led Tom along the road. Not only did he trace the pack's movements, but he also stumbled upon lion tracks, surprising him. He wondered why even lions were emerging from the mountains to forage, but with no time to dwell, he focused on the wolf problem. His injured knee hindered mobility, so he devised a plan, using a plastic predator call to lure the wolves. This whistle mimics injured prey sounds but must be used cautiously. It attracts all nearby predators, from wolves to bears and lions. A faint rustle snapped Tom to attention. Dense trees blocked his view, but he raised his rifle, scanning the surroundings. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted movement. He aimed instantly. Deer usually flee such sounds, but this one approached instead. Disappointed luring a deer meant wolves weren't nearby. Tom decided to relocate. Yet tracking wolves across the vast Yak Valley proved daunting. The pack might have retreated to the mountains, leaving today's hunt empty-handed. Life in this wild valley is harsh, especially for Tom, no longer young. Physical pain slows him, but he persists relentlessly. Tom remains worthy of the title, Mountain Toughman. Unwavering. To the end. Yak Valley is one of Montana's deepest canyons, with over 1,800 meters separating its highest and lowest points. This area has remained largely unchanged for thousands of years, with few species going extinct, resulting in abundant wildlife. Tom and his wife Nancy have lived here for 35 years. Recently, Tom's old knee injury flared up while driving off wolves. But the injury hasn't slowed him down. During this downtime, he's focused on fulfilling a craft order, a beaver tail sheath. To complete it, he needs a beaver tail, so he set traps earlier and planned to check them today. Nancy firmly objected, insisting Tom rest while she inspected the trap instead. Though elderly, the couple remains deeply devoted. Tom has always treated Nancy like a princess. After 3 decades here, Nancy never learned to hunt, simply because Tom forbade it, claiming the wilderness was too dangerous. Today, however, he had no grounds to refuse. He called their friend Tim to accompany Nancy and their dog Allie to retrieve the beaver. Nancy, Tim, and Ollie set out. Both were novices at setting traps. This was Tom's expertise. Soon, they reached the trap and found luck. A massive beaver lay motionless in the water. With this catch, Tom's order could be fulfilled. But Tim and Nancy struggled, neither knew how to handle the trap. After hauling the beaver ashore with great effort, they realized they couldn't free it from the snare. Multiple attempts failed, so they reluctantly returned the beaver to the water and headed home to fetch Tom. This part puzzles me. Why not carry the beaver back and let Tom open the trap there? Instead, they made the injured Tom trek out. Though illogical, they fetched him anyway. Back home, Tim chuckled awkwardly, leaving Tom baffled until Tim admitted, "We caught one, but we couldn't open the trap." Hearing this, Tom perked up, his pain seemingly vanished. He understood. Brute force alone couldn't handle such traps. Finesse was key. Without hesitation, Tom followed them back. Age brings wisdom. Traps and snares are Tom's domain. At the site, Tom hauled the beaver ashore and demonstrated. Twist here. Pull there. The trap sprang open effortlessly. Tim and Nancy marveled. What stumped them was child's play for Tom. The trio returned home with an exceptionally large beaver, triumphant. Life in the forest is unpredictable. You never know what danger or reward the next moment holds. A truth Tom and Nancy know all too well. How long does it take to tame a horse? Some say it takes ages, others claim just 10 minutes. As the saying goes, amateurs see the spectacle, experts see the craft. In northwestern Montana, winters last 7 months, with cold as the norm. But occasional warm Pacific currents bring fleeting warmth. Seizing a mild day, Tom drove to Idaho after his brother Jake called a 3-year-old horse had never been ridden, and Jake sought Tom's expertise. Though Tom admitted he hadn't trained a horse in 20 years. Jake lives in a grassland town in central Idaho, raising horses for a living. Tom arrived swiftly. The brothers reunited warmly, with Jake serving wild grouse, meat a hunter's delicacy few ever taste. Preparations began. Repairing a training pen. Taming starts in confined spaces for control. Larger areas risk endless chasing. Once the pen was ready, a chestnut colt was led in, joined by an older horse to calm and mentor it. Training a 3-year-old is tough, especially for elderly men. Risks abound: stomping, kicking, biting. Tom stayed cautious. Step 1. Lasso the colt to approach, touch, and build trust. After roping it, Jake held the reins, temporarily securing them to his saddle, a risky move, as a struggling colt could drag both horse and rider. Fortunately, the colt cooperated, allowing Tom his first touch, a critical trust-building moment. Step 2. Fitting the bridle, reins, and bit. Decades ago, the brothers could do this in 10 minutes. Now, it took 3 hours. Sage had dulled their boldness and agility. Jake had already spent 3 weeks on this task. 3 hours felt like progress. Next, leading the colt in circles to acclimate. A slow process. Step 3. Mounting. Tom saddled up. The colt resisted mildly but stayed manageable with both brothers controlling the reins. Step 4. Teaching commands. Tom explained, this requires at least 50 hours on horseback. But an obedient horse is worth it. Finally, testing the colt outdoors. It performed flawlessly, proving the training success. At sunset, the brothers rode contentedly, rare moment reviving old joys. Tom couldn't help but reminisce about brighter days. Yesterday it was horse taming. Today it's falcon release. This old hunter hasn't been sticking to his usual work lately. After helping his brother Jake train a colt in Idaho, Tom joined Jake in another pursuit, falconry. Jake, who runs a horse ranch in Idaho, has a unique passion training peregrine falcons. A decade ago, this falcon migrated from the Arctic, and Jake captured it, beginning their partnership. For 10 hunting seasons, Jake has relied on it. Peregrine falcons, medium-sized raptors with 18 subspecies worldwide, cruise at 50 to 100 kilometers per h but dive at over 300 kilometers h, the fastest among birds. During dives, they endure forces up to 25 times their body weight, surpassing even fighter jet pilots' 9G limit. These birds live 7 to 15 years, occasionally reaching 20. This falcon has spent its prime with Jake, yet shows no signs of aging. Today, instead of hunting, Jake plans to release it as a migratory bird, letting it return north. Whether it'll revisit its master remains uncertain. Taming it from wild to hunter demanded immense effort, known only to Jake. Releasing it now weighs heavily on him, but he follows through. The site chosen was the grassland where he first caught Ida Poetic full circle. Tom and Jake rode horses to the remote location. Preparations began. Jake removed its hood, fed it rabbit meat, and cut the leg strap its final restraint. The falcon lingered, savoring its last meal, deepening Jake's sorrow. He turned away, hiding tears. Tom noticed, but Jake dismissed as wind in the eyes. Parting is painful, especially when reunion is unlikely. Jake recalled its arrival as a fledgling. Now, a decade later, freedom called. The falcon hesitated, circling overhead, before finally vanishing into the sky. Jake wept openly, closing a 10-year chapter. Tom, witnessing it all, admired Jake's resolve, calling it extraordinary. The brothers' bond grew stronger, etched by this bittersweet farewell.